Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Krystal Fox, Membership Director with the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, and I will be your facilitator for tonight's discussion. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha focuses on policy issues. As a result of our discussions, we hope you will be ready to make an informed decision during election time. The views expressed at this educational event are not necessarily aligned with those of the League of Women Voters, but are expressed at the discretion of our guest. Today, we will hear from two candidates for the Nebraska legislature to represent District 7. Our objective is for voters to hear about issues and policies directly from candidates in a nonpartisan environment. To find out more about the candidates that will be on your ballot this May, visit vote411.org, organized and published by the League of Women Voters of Nebraska. The format for today is as follows. Each candidate will get a 1-minute opening statement followed by questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will answer every question and will have up to 1 minute to answer. Following the question portion, each candidate will have 1-minute closing statement. We alternate speaking order throughout the forum. Before the forum, the candidates drew numbers to determine the initial speaking order. I will introduce them now in that order. The two candidates here running for Legislative District 7 are Tim Pendrell and Dunixi Guereca. Let's start with opening statements. Tim?
Tim Pendrell, run for legislature. Grew up in Omaha, went to Gross, kind of got involved in politics and public service when I was in high school. Get involved in kind of student Democrats, and one of the first things I did was South Omaha graffiti wipeout. Really had never been involved in politics or anything like that before. I got to meet elected officials for the first time. Got really just hooked on public service. So I went to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln after that. Great opportunity there. Lived 2 years in Asia, Beijing for a year, and Nepal. Grad school, NYU. Before that, I did AmeriCorps, working for an entire year doing service for Habitat for Humanity North Omaha, and worked in the legislature since 2019 after I left the Department of Corrections, where I was running the Vocational and Life Skills program. And
thank you, Tim.
More time.
Dunixi, go ahead.
Well, first I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this tremendous forum and great opportunity. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Dunixi Guereca, and I'm running for the legislature. South Omaha for over a century has been a gateway to America, a place where immigrants can come to search of a better life. They seek good paying jobs, community amongst their fellow immigrants. And that's the story of my family. Yo soy un hijo de inmigrantes, un hijo de inmigrantes mexicanos. I'm the child of immigrants, a child of Mexican immigrants who came to this country in search of that better life. And that's why I'm running. I'm running to make South Omaha strong, to be a fighter for those who want to put in an honest day's work. I don't care if your family's been here for 100 days or 100 years. If you work hard, you deserve a shot at a good life. And I'm going to make that my priority, making sure that hardworking Nebraskans get those opportunities.
Thank you both. Question 1. What do you hope to accomplish in your time in the legislature? Tim?
A lot of it, I'm really focused on kind of like building the future. One of the things, being able to work in the legislature on a lot of economic development and working on the budget and appropriations. We had the opportunity to do the Shovel Ready Act, which was $115 million for the state to help kind of nonprofits whose capital campaigns were interrupted by COVID. There's never been an appropriation that large, really, in Nebraska. That ended up about $55 million just into LD7. And that kind of opened the door. Like, for the first time in my life, the state's really been an active partner on doing economic development and creating some of these bigger projects and public-private partnerships. And I'm really worried that we're going to lose that and some of that's going to be clawed back. So one of the things that I'm really focused on is creating that economic development, creating those jobs, and keeping the state as an active partner in helping grow our communities.
Thank you. Same question to you, Dunixi. What do you hope to accomplish in your time in the legislature?
It's hard for people right now. I think what I want to accomplish is I want to focus on common sense solutions that will make everyday Nebraskans' life a little bit easier. It's a hardworking community that deserves nice things. West Omaha shouldn't get all the nice things. So we're going to make sure that South Omaha, that the hardworking people of South Omaha have a champion. So that means investing in good schools, making sure that there's high-paying jobs, safe jobs, access to affordable health care, and access to affordable housing. These are things that, people shouldn't have to worry about. And that's what I'm going to focus on common sense solutions to make people's lives a little bit easier.
Thank you. Question 2. Nixie, this will start with you. What do you consider to be the essential services of a state government?
I think the essential services of the state government is, providing people the tools that they need to be successful. So that's strong public schools that educate all children, that give them the tools and the opportunities to go out and reach their full potential. That's safe streets, making sure that our first responders have the resources they need to keep our streets safe. They have, opportunity. That's opportunity in good paying jobs, investment in the community, making sure that businesses are coming here to take, and use our incredible workforce that we have. South Omaha is the hardest working part of the state, and there's great economic opportunity. So I think that's the role of the state, is to be a partner to keep people first and make sure that they have the resources that they need to reach their full potential.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I think the essential services of the state of Nebraska and the Constitution from when the state was founded is funding public education. It's a constitutional responsibility that's really been put down onto property tax owners. Public safety is another one, but I really want the state to increase its role in funding public education. And I think we can do that just by lowering the local effort rate. I'd like to expand the gap between the mill levy and the actual calculation they use for school finance, with the goal of being able to increase funding for education, but also take some of that burden off property taxes. And we can actually, they don't need to do a sales tax increase. You can actually do it in the current state budget. There's enough money for it. And then outside, public safety, there's been a lot of issues been working on for first responders, PTSD, cancer screenings, a lot of that work that the legislature's been doing to make sure that our first responders are well taken care of in their jobs.
Thank you. How should the problem of prison overcrowding be handled? Tim?
That is a very tough one. Prison overcrowding, like I mentioned earlier, I worked, one of the reasons I went to work for the legislature is because I was working in the Department of Corrections before I had the opportunity to move over, and I was the grant administrator, and I was running the vocational life skills program, which is to give people jobs and careers to help them train so that when they come out, they can get full careers. I really think we have to really get early on in life and try to reduce the amount of what leads ultimately to incarceration. A lot of that is poverty, a lot of that is trauma. There's a big issue with lead service lines, and there's a lot of research that there's elements there that cross over. But I really think we need to work on reducing poverty and giving people the opportunity, especially kids, so that we can break that pipeline and give kids the opportunity to have good careers and know what they want to do in the future so that they don't get involved in the criminal justice system to begin with.
Thank you. Dunixi?
So obviously, reducing prison overcrowding is a complex issue, but there are common sense solutions and steps we can take. Things like veterans courts, things like drug courts. But what it comes down to is it's about prevention and not reaction. We need to address the root causes of crime. So that means making sure that we have good public schools that educate our kids and prepare them for the future, making sure that there's good paying jobs so people are able to take care of the basic necessities, make sure they have food in their stomach, access to affordable housing, access to affordable health care. If we give people those resources and those tools, we're definitely going to see a long-term reduction in crime.
Thank you. Question 4. What can we do as a state to attract and retain young people in areas such as education, walkability, housing, and social issues? And next, we're going to start with you.
I think, ensure, again, we need to invest in the things that these workers need, right? So that means strong public schools. That means access to affordable housing, access to affordable health care, and investment in job opportunities, right? We need to ensure that our workers are well taken care of, our workers are happy and strong, so they can go out and do a good job for the businesses, therefore increasing profits. But at the end of the day, it's making sure that our workers here in Nebraska are able to live a good and comfortable life and a safe life.
Tim?
Yeah, this is a tough one. One of our biggest exports in Nebraska is people. And the number of graduates that are coming out of the university system and not staying in Nebraska should be a massive concern, because none of this is sustainable if we can't grow and we can't get people who are from here to want to be here and want to stay here. A lot of that is about creating the opportunities that people want and they're attracted to. The walkability, multimodal transportation, the urban core, the diversity of housing options, the diversity of career options. It's a national issue, and everybody's dealing with it to try to maintain, recruit. But we have, I think it's an enormous amount of jobs more than we actually have people, and that is the wages aren't high enough. There's a whole host of issues, but working on legislation and working on the types of jobs of the future and making sure there's that pipeline for kids to get the opportunity to find those jobs and people to be retrained for them.
Thank you. Tim, question 5, we'll start with you. Does Nebraska need to change its method of redistricting? Why or why not?
Redistricting. Well, I think everybody needs to change their method of redistricting. It needs to be nonpartisan. I was in the legislature during the last redistricting process. I do think we do it better, but we still have gerrymandering going on. We still have people drawing their own districts or moving people out of their districts. One of the, we have the census every 10 years, and then we do redistricting, but the city elections just fall in right before we do that redistricting. So those districts aren't representative until the middle of the decade. So those are definite issues, but keeping it nonpartisan, one of the strongest things about Nebraska, and making sure that we do it in a way that really represents the community. It does get hard when you actually get in there and you draw the perfect district, and then 48 other districts are now messed up. So I'm watching that. It is a difficult process, and even just getting the software to work is tedious.
Thank you. Thank you. Dunixi?
Redistricting. I think ensuring that the process is nonpartisan is, of course, very important. We want to make sure that they take an objective look at, how to best create districts. So I think it's worth taking a look at what others are doing. Certainly what we do is better than other states, but I think exploring other options and really taking a hard look at what's the best way to do this that represents all Nebraskans. Be that an independent, nonpartisan redistricting committee that's separate from the legislator, or just reworking the internal processes that we have in place right now. I think there's a lot of good options, but certainly taking a look at ourselves and make sure that the process that we are doing creates a result that's in the best interest of Nebraska.
Question 6. Do you believe Nebraska as a state should have an overall climate strategy? The next week we'll start with you.
Absolutely. I think we are good stewards of our environment and of our land, and we need to make sure that we leave it better for our children. So taking a good hard look at what we're doing as a state, ensuring that, we work with businesses to do common sense, easy solutions to ensure that we're reaching the goals that we set. Working with individual citizens to make sure that they have access to common sense things like, changing your lead pipes, being mindful of what fertilizer you use in your grass, and then working with our ag community to make sure that they have the resources to keep our waterways clean and free of nitrates. What processes, how can we promote best practices? So yeah, that's absolutely something we should be doing.
Yeah, 100%. The state just did its first climate strategy plan, and that was a fight for years just to get the state to acknowledge that there is a climate. So moving forward and things that need to be done, 95% of the water use in this state is center point pivot irrigation. So new technologies and drip irrigation and edge software that can really massively reduce the amount of water being used, which ultimately reduces the amount of nitrates. Looking at kind of the lead service line issue, 16,000 lead service lines in Omaha. We now have funding to fix that and start to replace those, and we need to because that is poison. The nitrates that are going into the creeks and the rivers, a lot of that's really old. Looking at the Mead and Superfund sites, really the more we can do for irrigation, the more we can do for reducing the amount of water runoff, and that includes things like xeriscaping, permeable surfaces, is extremely important.
Thank you. Question number 7. In your opinion, what is the purpose of mandated academic standards in Nebraska public schools? Dunixi?
What is the purpose of mandated academic standards?
Yes, in your opinion.
I think we need the purpose of mandated academic standards is obviously ensuring that our children are ready for the next for life as Nebraskan citizens. I think we need to continue to invest in our public schools, invest in our teachers, making sure that they have good paying salaries, good paying staff salaries as well. Public education in Nebraska is a shining example. We have one of the best public education systems in the entire country. We need to continue to invest in that system, continue to invest in our teachers that do an amazing job and educate all children. So yeah, I think that we need to make sure that they have all the resources they need to do a great job for our kids.
Yeah, opinion on mandated academic standards. I think when we did No Child Left Behind, I think it moved a little bit too much for teaching for tests, and it's leaving kids behind. But we definitely want to maintain that we have very high standards and we have the best standards. We should have the best schools. I think we overdo it. I really wish we would have kind of different pathways for students, a little bit easier, and I get why it's difficult to do because funding is based on maintaining a lot of these standards. There's a lot of pressure on teachers and students to get them where they need to be for the purpose of tests. But getting like trades opportunities in the schools, getting kids the opportunity to interact with tinkering and technology, and just trying to find those interests so that you can build those pathways. I wish teachers had a little bit more flexibility, and I wish students had a little bit more opportunity to find their own path and not being kind of having to be pushed along to get to the next grade.
Thank you. What will be the first bill you introduce if and when you are elected? Tim?
So they set a limit of 20, and I'm already trying to figure out how to break around that. There's a number of bills I've been working on, and as this is being recorded, the session's not over yet, so I don't exactly know where we're going to wind up. Definitely want to introduce legislation that would lower the local effort rate to increase the amount of state funding for education. There's going to be bills that we've already kind of started on that need to go and that need to continue if they don't make it through this year. And looking at like kind of the East Omaha Recovery Act, the shovel-ready bill that helped nonprofits, and I mentioned earlier about $55 million in the district and a lot of the cultural institutions that we know. I really want to make sure that's not a one-time thing and that we could continue to figure out a path so that this state can continue to be an economic development partner for our community.
Thank you. Dunixi?
First bill out of the gate. Oh wow, there's so many and so many issues. I think there's a lot of things that need to be addressed right off the bat. Certainly education funding, but it's not just about increasing that funding to education. The reason property taxes are so high is because for over 30 years the state has been slashing their contribution. Before last year, we were ranked 48th in the country in state aid to education. And that's why local school boards have been having to raise the local levy. So we need to not just invest in our schools, but give our local elected school board members the confidence that we're not going to immediately start slashing that budget. That's how you get to actual reduction, long-term property tax relief. Also investing in technical education. Working with industry to give these kids the job training that they need to on day one be ready to enter the workforce and change the course of their lives and their families' lives.
Thank you both. We have come to the end and we'll take your closing statements. You have 1 minute. Dunixi, we'll start with you.
I'm running because I want to make my community better. The people of South Omaha are the hardest working in the entire state, and I'm going to be your champion. The only promise I'll ever make is that if you ever disagree with the decision, the vote that I take, reach out. I will hear you out, and I'll talk you through how I got to that decision. The people of South Omaha are my family. So I want to make sure that they have all the opportunity to live a good and comfortable life. I've been knocking doors since November, and what people say is they want life to be a little bit easier. And I think that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on improving the little things so people can enjoy a good and safe life. And I'm going to fight for you. Gracias.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, one thing, running for legislature and kind of going door to door and people watching, really look at, regardless of the district and who you're going to elect, that you're electing us for 40 days. You can only introduce legislation in the first 10 days, and with the amount of turnover in the legislature, it's really important to know kind of what leadership's going to be on day one and being prepared to move forward and get these bills done and accomplished, and not being able to waste any time, because it is a grind. When I look at kind of the changes in South Omaha and downtown just over my lifetime, and when I first got involved, I haven't seen any kind of efforts to fix up and improve South Omaha from the government side since the early 2000s. Under Mayor Fahey, was kind of neighborhood grant program and all that. I really hope that we can continue to do the kind of growth that we've been doing and keep the partnerships so that we can develop, improve the neighborhood and the community, and create jobs and economic development.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you want to learn more about the candidates and issues that will be on your ballot, visit vote411.org for a personalized resource tool. A special thank you to the candidates tonight who participated with us in our conversation. And for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Krystal Fox. As always, we urge you to be informed and be a voter on May 14th. Go vote Omaha.